ideas, inspiration, innovation. This is The Game Changer. And now here's your host, Chicky Fitzgerald.
Good afternoon, this is Chicky Fitzgerald, and it has been a while since we've done a Game Changer show, and I had kind of put the show on hiatus until I met our guest. And Amanda and I were on this I'm going to call it bizarre, although it didn't feel bizarre at the time, but I was invited to a networking event, and usually I would rather have a root canal than go to a networking event. But this particular one was actually going to be on a boat out in a lake, and the whole theme was all about wake surfing. Well, anybody who knows me knows that, anything physical like that, you are not likely to find me at the front of the line. But I decided to go ahead and give it a try. And they had separated the groups into two different groups. And I will tell you that Amanda wasn't on my group. And because I had looked at everybody's background and, just tried to find out a little bit about them. And then all of a sudden I'm sitting next to this amazing woman and she starts telling her story. And I'm thinking, I don't think you were supposed to be on this boat today. But as it turned out, we met each other and I just was really, really taken with her. And so our guest today is Amanda Holmes. And she has just recently released a new and updated version of a book. And I'm going to let her tell you the story behind it and just a little bit about her. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Jiggy. It's so nice to be here, especially after such a random way that we met.
I know. And it really was a wonderful day. And the thing I loved about it is the people who had organized it decided that they could have sponsored a lunch or a breakfast or a dinner or something more traditional. But this really did get all of us, no matter how athletic you are, it still got us out of our comfort zones because, you are you have this amazing just everything about you was amazing, and so you wouldn't worry about being in front of all of those men in a swimming suit. Yet here I am in my late 60s and I'm thinking, oh my God, this is the last thing I want, but I did it anyway. And they allowed me not to wake surf, but you and a number of others actually encouraged me to do tubing, which was great fun as well. But you did awesome on the wake surfing. So I was very, very proud of you. Anyway, tell me a little bit about your backstory, because I know you've got a really interesting journey that you've taken.
Yeah, so The Ultimate Sales Machine, the original, was written by my father 15 years ago. So he got his big break working for a billionaire by the name of Charlie Munger, co-chairman of Berkshire Hathaway. So he doubled the sales of 9 different companies for Charlie, all within 12 to 15 months, and several of them multiple years consecutively. So he realized that he had a system for doubling sales. Then he went into assisting 60 of the Fortune 500. And then he said, you know what? I really want to help the small to medium-sized business. So he wrote this book, and it's now in the top 10 most recommended sales books of all time. It's been out there for a while, and just people call it their red Bible because second to the Bible, they read this the most. It's one of those ones where they read it over and over and over again. Now, unfortunately, 12 years ago, my father was diagnosed with cancer, and he didn't win that battle, and he passed away. And at the time, I was 24. I was a singer. I had released 3 different records as a musician, touring the United States. And all of a sudden, I then inherit a world-class marketing and sales training company, and I have no idea where I'm at. Yeah, it was rather insane. The company should not be here today based on that strange occurrence that happened. And we never talked about me taking over the business. That was part of the plan. But after about 2 years of looking at different C-suites to fill the void, I stepped in as CEO. It's been 10 years now. And in my first year, I increased our leads by 1,176%. I doubled our coaching clients multiple years in a row. Penguin kept asking for me to write a new edition of the book. I said, no way, that's the holy grail. I could never touch that thing. And then eventually, after about 6 years, I said yes. It took me 4 years to write the new edition. I came out with that in 2022. It hit the bestseller list, and I've been keynoting around the world ever since. And it's helped us double sales and continue to grow and bloom and blossom. So it's been a wild ride. The Ultimate Sales Machine framework has assisted now over 250,000 businesses worldwide. We've helped our clients generate at least over 52 billion in sales for the last half a century, 5 decades. So it's been quite wild, and I've been here for about 10 years now as CEO. So
Wow. Well, I have a theory, Amanda, and we didn't have a lot of time on the boat to talk about this, but I really believe that before we are even born, before we're even conceived, that our bags are packed. The story is already told about where we're going to end up. And while it was a surprise to you and, perhaps to people around you, I just think you were meant for this. And, I know you've had your own journey, to come to grips with all of that, but, it's clear from your results that this is just something that, again, your bags were packed for this particular journey. And that's what makes it so easy, is when you're using the gifts and the skills that God has given you. It just makes it so much better. So I want to dive in just a little bit into the book's content. We're not going to be able to make it through everything, but there are just a couple of things that, as I was looking through the book, that just piqued my interest. And one of those is, I know that billionaires have probably more than one secret, but there seems to be a particular secret that allows people to seemingly effortlessly, right, just maximize their productivity. And so I'm wondering what that is.
Yeah, let me take a step back and then I'll go into that. So the concept is that only 5% of companies make it to 1 million in annual sales. Of that, 0.08% make it to 5 million. Of that, 1.5% make it to 10 million, and 0.004% make it to 100 million and beyond. Now, the difference is what takes you from 1 million to 5 is a completely different skill set than what it takes to get from 5 million to 10 million. And what made you succeed from 10 million will not get you to 100 million and beyond. It's the skills it takes to grow the business, and those skills can actually be developed. And what we teach is it isn't about doing 4,000 different things. It's about doing 12 things 4,000 times. So each chapter is another core competency in how to double sales. And one of the fastest places where we can see a change in someone's results is time management, because majority of people are not masters of their own time. If you think about a billionaire is the same 24 hours in a day, but they're smarter about their time. So this is where we start. And there's actually 6 steps to improve your time management and your productivity up to 500% if we just follow them with a thing we call pig-headed discipline and determination. So I can give a couple of those steps right now if you'd like.
Yeah, I would love that.
So the concept is to start your day or even the day before with, what are the top 6 things you need to get done? Because majority of people will put down a to-do list and it's so long that they get the dopamine hit of checking something that really isn't a priority. So first, let's come up with the top 6 that are most important. Then after that, how much time will it take you to achieve that one task? So it could be, okay, it's going to take me 30 minutes to do that task, or it's going to take me an hour and a half to do that task. And you map out your day. So, okay, if I start at 9 a.m., from 9 to 10 a.m., I'm going to write that proposal that's going to go to a potential client. Then from 10 to 11 a.m., I'm going to build out a new marketing strategy. From 11 to 11:30, I'm going to take a break. So you want to break down your day and write each task into each time slot. Now, what this does is very often, so I do this perpetually, and what I find is I will write down all the tasks and I'll realize I've put out the whole task for the whole day and I won't have enough time to get done the most important task. So very often when I write down and put them into the slots, I have to go back and reorchestrate so the most important ones are done in a timely manner. because very often we get done by the end of our day and we still have the most important things that we haven't finished. So this stops that from happening if you put it in hour by hour. And what it also does is it helps you formulate and understand how do you work the best. So for me, I love to do 90-minute increments. I can work hard in 90 minutes, but then I want another 20 to 30 minutes where I take a break and I'll either go for a walk, or I'll meditate, or I'll do something that revitalizes me to go back in for another 90-minute chunk. So depending on how your brain works and how you best operate, you starting your day with a very clear plan of what you're going to accomplish. And then by the end of the day, you feel so much more alive because you've accomplished all the things that you've set out to do, rather than just keeping a to-do list that never gets done. I kind of give you the basics, but if you go to chapter 1, you can actually read what they are step by step.
Right. So then, you've mastered your own time, right? But you still have the people around you. How do you get them to work like a well-oiled machine, right? Because
Yes.
it's one thing to master yourself, and it's quite another to institute, that higher standard for how they should be working.
So, we call them got a minute meetings, right? So you're doing your work and then all of a sudden someone comes in and says, hey, got a minute? And at the time when we all used to work mostly in an office, now we have this hybrid experience that many live in, or fully remote experiences. And now the got a minute meeting has turned into got a second. And the notifications that we get on our phones, the average person touches their phone 92 times a day. Just perpetually, it's this feeling of having to get that dopamine hit from a phone. So the got a minute meeting has become rampant, not only with just people, but then the ding, ding, ding of the phone. So we have to stop the got a minute meetings from happening. And that's letting your staff know, training your staff on the 6 steps, time management secrets of billionaires, so that they start doing it as well. And what we do is we allocate time within our day for reactive moments. So if someone comes and says, hey, got a minute? You say, I don't have a minute now, but from 11:30 to 12, I've set aside time for got a minute meetings. So you can come to me from 11:30 to 12 and we can discuss this in my reactive time. So you're being proactive about the reactive times that you need.
Wow. Wow, that's powerful. So, we talk about those got a minute meetings, but the other thing that I see that kills, and this has been throughout my entire consulting career, is meetings that, first of all, they used to always they didn't know how to operate without those meetings. But quite often the meetings were, you'd spend half the time talking about, when can everybody get together for the next one, right? Because nothing was ever getting done. So how do you work to improve that culture, that meeting culture?
Now, it's funny that you say that. So 56 million meetings are ineffectively happen a day in the United States. It's just insane. Because we just waste too much time, like you're saying, in meetings.
Right.
So we actually have a workshopping technique, which is in chapter 2, because what we found is we can assist a company to grow, but if they don't know how to manage their time and if they don't know how to have effective meetings, then we'll never get a new innovation to happen or to processes to improve. So it's called the workshopping technique, where we can solve a decade-long problem in less than an hour if we facilitate the right environment for people to give feedback. Because very often what happens is a CEO or the managers say, okay, this is our problems and this is what we need to solve, and they don't give a place for everyone on the team to express what they're thinking and get their feedback, but do it in a way that is efficient, so that we're not talking for the next 5 hours, but we're talking about a concept and coming to an actionable result. So the way that a workshop works is, so very often when we're working with a team, we'll say, okay, the workshopping topic is blank. So let's say the workshopping topic was What's the biggest thing holding your company back from doubling its sales in the next 12 months? Okay, now let's take 60 seconds. Nobody answer. Just take 60 seconds and write down all of your answers. So we'll wait for the 60 seconds. Everyone will write down, and then we'll go around the room. Okay, Billy, what are your answers? Writing them so that everybody can see. Okay, Sally, let's hear yours. So everyone writes down. Then we say, okay, now you get 2 votes. And you get to vote for what you think is the most important thing. So then everyone votes on what's the most important task to be taken care of. And very often that list could be 8 different things that if you just spent 1 hour a week working on those 8 things over the next 8 weeks, it could completely dramatically change the course and direction of your business, right? And we see it all the time because we're so focused working in the business instead of on the business.
Right.
This gives you that way. So once we focus on, okay, number one is this particular issue. Now let's workshop on what could be the solutions. Take another 60 seconds, write down all the solutions that could be. Okay, now let's collect everyone's solutions. Let's vote on it. Okay, now we know that's the solution we're focused on. Everyone has had a consensus. Now, what are the 3 action items we need to take to make sure that this gets achieved? Then you go from ideas and everybody has a concept or you don't get to hear it because it's just the executive team to now everyone's had a voice. Everyone's got to vote on it, and we get to move on with action steps. So that is the workshopping technique. And we actually have on my website, we have 52 different prompts for every type of question to ask your team to make sure that you can grow and flourish working on the business, not just in it. And it's a lot of it is focused more on like the marketing and sales efforts. We've had so many clients that have just 1 hour a week worked on that workshopping technique and following each one of the questions. And they've seen doubling their sales just from asking of the team, following the workshopping technique, and coming to the solution and taking action.
That is amazing. So, I am a strategist, and that's how I made most of my money over the course of my career, whether it was inside a company or as an outside consultant. So I know as a strategist, I can have the ideas, and I've used many of those techniques that you have talked about. But how do you actually take those ideas and those things that you need to do, and how do you get the most impact from each one? Is it taking it one at a time, or how do you do that? Right. So now you got the ideas, you're all on the same page. Then what?
So it all comes down to the 3 Ps: policies, procedures, and planning. So coming back to, which is usually the thing that people, operations people love it. Mostly
right.
Sales reps who hate it, right? I was just doing a training in Jamaica for a sales team for a financial advising team. And I showed them a way to ask for a referral that could increase their referral strategy by 800%. And very often we get clients that say all the time, majority of our business comes from referrals, so we don't need to improve our referral process. And then I dig a little deeper and find out, no, you have a passive referral process. You don't have an active referral process where you have a very clear way to ask every single client that comes through your door. You know when to ask it, you know what to say, and you know how to follow up. So we went through that process on the first day, and I challenged them all to come up with a referral by the second day. And only one out of the whole room actually did it. And then I showed them, we had 2 different offices of a doctor try this referral strategy. They trained on it once, and one office improved their sales by 16%. The other office improved their sales by 42%. Same referral strategy, same doctor, just a different location. What was the difference? And the difference was actually that the second office trained on that same script 4 separate times. And it's not like it's a rocket science script. It's a pretty simple script, but they just kept coming back. And it brings us to repetition is the mother of all skill. If we just keep repeating and they see that you're continuing to monitor, and we know that that is the way that we ask for a referral, it will become ingrained in them where it just falls off the tongue. They know exactly what to do, and they do it with every client. So my answer to that is just the repetition.
Got it. Got it. Well, I know also for myself that having the right team is just so key. And we're at a time where when I look at people's LinkedIn profile, I am amazed at, particularly for people under 40, and it is a tiny bit more generational than we might think. Uh, the average length of time on the job is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And it's not necessarily that they aren't highly skilled, but a lot of the institutional knowledge is going away because of people moving so much. So how do you find that rock star team and keep them?
Ooh, chapter 5, yeah, how to hire sales superstars. We have a whole approach to this. It's a 3-step process: relax, probe, attack. I mean, you can read through, it's extremely detailed. When we think about sales reps, we're not hiring for what's on a resume. We'd rather see that someone has the gumption, right? We would very quickly hire an 18-year-old if they have the traits that it takes to be a superstar, or
Right, right.
a 75-year-old that has the traits it takes to be a superstar, rather than looking at what they say on their resume. So we're very much about not looking at the resume and more looking at the type of person. So diagnostic tools, today in the hiring process too, just asking for them to record a video as well to see if they'll take the
Right.
extra step to do something that we've asked them to do, rather than just another one of those resumes going in. But we have a very detailed process, so I don't think we have enough time to cover all
No,
of that.
we could probably do a whole show on that.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering what your philosophy is about, can you choose your buyers in the same way, right? The people who are actually going to buy your product.
I am a big believer in working with people that you love and adore and reverse engineering that. And that's a part of our process, actually, because what
Mhm.
we find is that so often, I was just 2 weeks ago, I was with a sales team that so I do this process where I ask, okay, give me a list of all your clients over the last year and how much they've spent with you, and I'm going to analyze it. And they always look at me like, you're asking me for my client list? I'm like, hey, I'm just going to dig deeper into your numbers. Let me look at it. And once me and my team do, we found with this one client that 56% of their business only generated them 3% of their revenue. Half of the time that they take in their sales process, 3%. So let's
Wow.
reverse engineer this, right? And look at, who are we going after? Who are we talking to on a day-to-day basis that are just not the ideal client? If we can get clearer on the no's and who's losing us revenue, who actually doesn't get a great result from us, who is a dream client? That's chapter 6 and chapter 9 around the fastest, least expensive way to double sales. So we're really big about
Mm.
finding the few, because if you market and sell to a few, it's less expensive. But if those few are the ones that are going to make you, 2x, 10x, then it's a better use of your time. So we're really big about finding who those ideal clients are that are more fun, that are more profitable, that get better results, that are easier to sell to. And we can reverse engineer that to find, where do they spend their time? Because very
Mm.
often what we find is that companies, because there's now, so 15 years ago, there were 7 different marketing mediums. Today, there's 21 different marketing mediums, and everyone
Right.
is telling you, you should be on this marketing medium, you should be here, you should be there. I can't tell you how many times people are marketing in a place where their ideal clients aren't even there. It happened to me recently, and I teach the stuff. I was doing all of this time spending on Instagram, and when we pull the data of our dream clients, 67% of them were on LinkedIn. I personally despise LinkedIn. I guess I'm just a millennial, but I didn't spend much time there. Another 20% were on Twitter, which I never spend time there either. And only 6%
Right.
were on Instagram, and it proved me wrong. And I said, okay, you guys are right. I'm not going to spend as much time on Instagram because that's not where my ideal clients are. They're on LinkedIn and they're on Twitter and they're in other places.
Wow.
So we really have to get clear on who our ideal client is so that we can market to them where they actually are, instead of just following the herd and choosing one of or 15 of the 21 different marketing mediums. that's so easy to fall into.
Mhm. So we've talked a lot about the right things to do. Can you give me a couple of examples of the biggest mistakes that you see people making over and over again?
Yeah, 90% of companies miss these 4 steps. I'll give it to you real quick. It's our fastest, least expensive way, or sorry, it's the way that we recommend doubling your sales while cutting your stress in half. So first is 51% of companies do not have a clear and concise goal. It's not clear throughout the entire team. Half of small to medium-sized businesses. So the first thing we need to know is just what is your goal, which majority miss. The second is who are your ideal clients? And this ties back to 60% of companies actually either break even or lose money. 60%, only 40% of companies actually make a profit. That's because we're not thinking about who our ideal clients are and actually marketing and selling to them in the right way. Then what do we need to say to grab their attention? I will tell you that 90% of companies, all they talk about is, we call it the me, we syndrome. I'm great. I'm the best. I'm different from the rest. Our products are the best. And because of this, we're only talking about us. Now, if we think about the buyers, we call it the buyers pyramid. What percentage of companies are, or what percentage of prospects are actually interested in you? Well, generally, only 3% are in the buying now category, if you think of it as a pyramid. And then the 7% are open to it. The next 90% are either not thinking about you, think that they're not interested, or definitely not interested. So if you are only talking about you, product or service, you're only getting 3% of the market.
Wow.
And all of our competitors are fighting for just that 3%. So you're missing 90% of the potential. So majority of companies miss out on 9 times the prospects just talking about themselves. So we teach
Hmm.
a thing called the stadium pitch, chapter 4, where you can get up to 9 times more clients using the same moves you're already making. And then the fourth biggest mistake is knowing where to market to them and sell to them so that you get the highest
Hmm.
ROI generated. Because as I said, right, so many different marketing mediums, but because the first 3 steps aren't in alignment, the fourth one, you end up losing. 77% of marketers are unsure if their marketing is actually generating an ROI.
That's phenomenal. It really is. I mean, I'm not really surprised though, Amanda. Um, the one chapter of your book and the term that jumped out the most at me was about client bonding. That just that to me, because bonding is such an amazing concept when you think about your child or bonding, with a new person in your life when you're single. But client bonding, wow! Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, so if we think back to the 7 steps to a sale, the first is establishing rapport, right? Bonding. The second is finding their need. And those 2 steps, if we think of it again as a pyramid, lesser sales reps or sales reps that just don't sell as much, they'll spend the least amount of time building rapport and finding the need, and the most amount of time trying to close the sale and be pushy and follow up. What a superstar sales rep does is they flip it and they do the opposite. They spend majority of their time building rapport and finding the need.
Mm.
That way, you're 65% of the way to a sale if you just gain that know, like, and trust and find out what their problem is. So I highly recommend client bonding. I also do a lot. I actually train on this, how to use social to create client bonding. And it's a
Uh-huh.
much faster way. That's why sales reps who use social outsell their peers by 78%. And you're 7 times more likely to close a lead generated from social than any other medium. So I go through this whole process, which I can't go through right now, but it's a very
Right,
cool
right.
if you use social.
Well, I just so appreciate you taking the time. And, clearly those people who need to double and triple and quadruple their sales absolutely need this book. And again, it's called The Ultimate Sales Machine, and for good reason. Amanda, what is the last thing you'd like to leave with folks as we wrap up?
I guess if you go to ultimatesalesmachine.com and if you get that book, I recommend the last chapter first. So I found this letter that my father wrote where he said he generated more wealth in the prior 8 months than what he had done in the prior 15 years combined. He generated more wealth. And it was because of this one thing. So I wrote that final chapter, calling it the encore he never got to give on how to live a rich and full life. And I truly
Mm.
think that chapter sets up the why behind why you would care to do any other of the chapters, or why you would care to generate revenue. So if you pick that up, I recommend chapter 13 first and then start the book.
Oh, what a great suggestion. Amanda, it has been just terrific. You and I didn't get to talk about this hardly at all the day that we were together. So I just so appreciate you investing the time in our audience. We've got a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life. As you know, I've got a travel technology company, and we also do event technology. And I'm going to make this absolutely imperative reading by my team, because I think we could all benefit from all of the structure that it provides, even within an entrepreneurial style company. I think we can still benefit.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure, Chicky.
Well, thank you. And can you just leave us with how, if people do want to get in touch with you and would like to hire you to come in and help their team, what is the best way for them to reach you?
Yes, I would recommend going to howtodoublesales.com. Howtodoublesales.com, and you can set up to book a strategy call, and that's where I would recommend.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you so much, Amanda. Take care.
You've been listening to The Game Changer. Ideas, inspiration, innovation with Chicky Fitzgerald.